So the item C is motion to refuse tax deed, and Ms. Taylor will be speaking to us about this.
Yes, I'm not quite sure how it happened, but the parcels that are in the motion that I prepared for you at 101 Mulberry Street, and then one that's not numbered but is adjacent, the same owner, on Mulberry Street, which is essentially the Topstone building, were left off the list. So,
Wait a minute, Councilor Kolowski?
I am one of a dozen tenants in that property, so I'd like to excuse myself.
Thank you, yes. Assistant Mayor Bergeron, you had a comment?
No, I just wanted to
Okay,
get it.
okay.
I knew what he wanted.
so there are several reasons. I know there's the boilerplate language that the statute requires, but the reasons is there is still an open file on it with DES. They're monitoring wells, and my understanding is that DES is still trying to figure it out, because it may be also adjacent property that's involved. So the city doesn't need any more polluted property.
So it's a brown site, more or less?
I don't know, because I was looking at they've changed around their one stop, and they don't give you as much information. It used to be, and maybe I just haven't figured it out, but it used to be you could dig down and look at all the documents that had been submitted on it to find out exactly where they are, and I couldn't figure out how to drill down into the site. The other thing is that there are some significant code issues with parts of the building, which would be, frankly, expensive for the city to undertake. And the third part is that the city doesn't necessarily want to be a landlord, especially to commercial businesses. Sorry, Nick. But, so all those things put together, the recommendation is for the city to refuse the tax deed.
Do we know if the owners of that property, are they dealing with the DES issue at all?
My understanding is they're dealing with it. I know you had met with them. I've not met with them personally, but they're certainly aware of it.
Yes, they are, currently. It's something we want to keep them doing.
Yes. Okay. Are there any other questions from the council? Yes, Councilor Temple.
Yes, how much is owed on this property for taxes?
I knew you
I have
were
that.
going to ask that, yeah.
When I met with them, which was about a month and a half ago, they owed $139,000. At 18% interest for half a month, I'm gonna say that that's over 140,000, but I mean, it's under 145,000.
However, the tax deeding purpose is as of a specific year in this case, so the figures of what they would owe if we were to take it now.
Right.
They owe through 2000, the end of the 2013 tax year, it's approximately $68,000, between 67.
2013.
Yes.
Yes. The reason I asked the question is, you know, and I understand some of the DES issues down there and codes and all that stuff in the buildings, but I think it's important for the citizens of Claremont to know that we have one person down there, or one owner, who owes the city some $140,000 in back taxes, and we know what we had for a struggle with revenue on budgets, that sort of thing. So I just think it's important for people to understand that. They can look this stuff up, it's public information, but sometimes it's a little difficult to do. Thank you.
Councilor Toll.
And I was busy trying to research a little things, but, and we have met with this owner, we're talking about Topstone at this point?
Mm-hmm.
We have met with this owner,
I have.
okay. And there's no resolving this issue? I'd like to know that.
There is a way to resolve this issue. And many of the times that I meet with folks like this, there's two approaches. There's the carrot and the stick. I think I'm pretty well known for my stick approach. This one is one that I don't think that we would get as much benefit from the stick approach. These are folks that have invested a lot of money in this building without any return on their investment. That's not for me to say whether that was a smart move or not. That was a personal decision on their part. But I believe they're at the point where they would walk away from this building entirely and leave it to the city. All of the code issues, all of the environmental issues. They are currently paying to have those issues remediated. There are tenants in this building that are paying. So I believe the best course of action is to try to work with these folks, keep them paying for the environmental issues, try to work with them on the commercial aspects. The more cash flow that they get, the more investment they will have to put into the building, and the more they will be able to have the wherewithal to continue to clean up the environmental stuff. And at the end of the day, this building still has the potential to be a success commercially. I don't think that the city taking it would lead to any greater avenue towards success. I think it would actually lead towards stagnation in the building sitting there for a much longer time, and the inability of the city to attract a new owner until all of those issues are corrected. We had a previous property, another commercial, a large-scale commercial property in another section of town that owed a similarly large amount of back taxes, and they themselves were able to do some stuff to their property and sell a building, and the proceeds of that building paid back the city's taxes that were owed entirely. So I think there is the opportunity for the private sector to solve its own issue. We will have to wait a little bit longer to get our taxes back, but this is accruing at some pretty usurious interest rates. So it's in their best interest to solve this problem and pay the city back the taxes. If not, it is accruing at 18% interest.
So just for clarification purpose, say we were not to do this, the refuse the tax deed, we accepted the property. Are we automatically on the hook to take care of the DES issues as soon as we receive it?
Yes.
So has anybody estimated the cost of what that would be? So we could do a comparison?
I have no idea, but I haven't seen one yet that's cheap.
I know.
We also would have all the responsibilities of landlord, which means we would have to bring everything up to code compliance at city's expense.
Yep. I just wanted to make that clear. Is
We
Councilor
had a
Post?
situation like this a few years ago where the city would have been on the hook for about $2.5 million.
Yep.
So
Okay.
Where was that?
I think that was down in the Lowe's area.
And, you know, history shows, that it's in the public record, that in the past, when the city has taken some of these sites that are troubled through tax deed, they end up being, quite frankly, millstones around the city.
Any other? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can appreciate that philosophy, and certainly the cleanup of this site is not new. This DES thing, if you research it, goes back years. So whether there's been any progress made is a matter of interpretation, I would suspect. I would think that after 8 or 10 years that, and maybe more, if you looked at the DES file, I'd be awfully surprised if there was very much, if any, cleanup attempt. But anyway, as long as we're making progress, it just, for the benefit of the public, it is what it is. There are a lot of residential properties that are up for tax deeds such as this, and it, I don't want to say it de-incentivizes people to not pay their taxes, but when people are hurting, it's just easy to let them ride, and we've seen the list. It's a long list, and we certainly don't need to expose it here this evening, but there's a history with this, Pete, with this lot, and there's a history with the cleanup attempts or lack thereof. I'm not sure if if the owner lives in the Claremont area or not, but anyway, I was just curious.
Can I address that?
Yes.
There was a cleanup done down there, and it's quite a while ago. Because I monitored the well for the city as hazmat officers for a number of weeks. And there was a big oil spill at where the chimney is. That was cleaned up. This is something I think that's developed since then. It's not the same connection that I was always explained to me. This is something new.
No, it's not. It's part of that, and there's also some potential on one of the adjacent lots to be contributing.
Okay.
And my understanding is that DES is now looking at what the contribution is from the
Okay.
adjoining lot. But after you have one of those spills or remove oil tanks like at the old Goddard Bakery, the city's acquired that almost 20 years ago, and we're still paying for the monitoring wells on
Yeah.
that site, and will probably for the next 50 years. And so those monitoring wells go on for an incredible amount of time.
But-
So those are still are being monitored and connected to the old.
Just so you know, there was oil underneath the highway, and the state allowed it to stay there because it was very deep. They didn't want to dig up the road. So whether that's causing some of the problems, I can't tell you.
I don't know, but it is fairly close to Tyler Brook, and that's one of
I
the
just wanted.
concerns.
Yes, Councilor
Make a
Raymond?
motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to refuse tax deed. City Council, having reviewed the list of impending tax deed parcels as presented by the city's tax collector, hereby notifies the tax collector that she shall not execute a deed of the real estate to the city for the following parcels because the council has determined in its judgment that acceptance would subject the city to undesirable obligations or liability risks, including the potential liability as an owner of property under state and federal law, which imposes strict liability on owners for environmental impairment of real estate involved. Lot, tax map 131-29, 101 Mulberry Street, 131-30 Mulberry Street. The city council further authorizes the tax collector or other city official to enforce all such tax liens upon the above listed properties as provided by RSA 80:50 and through any other remedy provided by law.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, so that was read by Councilor Raymond, seconded by Councilor Dameron. Before we take a vote on this, I'd just like to add, for one, and I don't know how the rest of the council feels, but I would like to have a periodic update on this property. If we make this motion and it passes to refuse the tax deed, I still would like to be apprised of where we're at. That is quite a significant sum of money, and any progress we're making to collect that. Okay?
I just, before we vote, I just want to know how long we're going to allow this to continue. To keep refusing to take the tax deed, because eventually it's going to be such an amount of money that I'm just afraid eventually just going to walk away anyway.
So maybe we can add to the periodic update as any actions or plans to come to, bring this to closure.
Yeah.
Would be helpful.
Just-
Okay?
I mean, the next council will deal with the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be back.
Yep.
Or is this a permanent refusal? I don't think so.
No,
No,
because
no,
you're
no.
telling them to execute their.
Up through 2013.
Okay. All right, are we ready to vote? Is it better on something like this to do a roll call, do you think? I would think so.
It's a majority vote, but if you want to do roll call, there's no
I'd be more
harm.
comfortable with a roll call. Thank you.
Carolyn Toll? Yes. Scott Pope?
Yes.
Keith Raymond?
Yes.
Victor Bergeron?
Yes.
Alan Dameron?
Yes.
Bruce Temple?
No.
John Simon?
Yes.
Mayor Charlene Lovett?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda